Welcome to Expert Profiles Atlanta, where Atlanta's influencers and innovators share strategies for overcoming obstacles and achieving success in business and life. Here's your host, best-selling author and Atlanta influencer, Neil Howe.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is your host, Neil Howe, and today my special guest is Markus Nelson. Markus is the owner of Blue Light Labs here in Atlanta, and he helps clients and companies brand, build, develop, and host their marketing and web presence. He says he becomes your friend and ally in the Internet of Things. So welcome to the show, Markus Nelson.
Hello, Neil. Thanks a bunch for having me.
No problem. Let's get straight to the content here. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Markus, how you got going in web design and what kind of clients that you help.
Yeah, very long story short, I never really was going to get into it in the first place. I was actually an animator for a while and ultimately moved from animation into IT. Didn't like IT. And just didn't like working corporate for a while. I kind of wanted to do my own thing. So did the whole, work out of a basement thing, designed a logo on my break, and started from there in like 2000.
Awesome.
So I incorporated, brought a bunch of guys that I went to college with at SCAD. So I went to the Savannah College of Art and Design, Savannah. A lot of us SCAD people think that the Atlanta SCAD people aren't real SCAD people, but don't tell them that.
Right.
I gave it a go. I did a bunch of crazy guerrilla marketing to try to get my, I think I consider myself personally, not the company, but myself, one of those guys that, started just when things were kind of heating up, but after the big explosion. So I'm a little bit of a veteran per se, and now I see a lot of companies popping up all over the place, beating me in my SEO rankings or what have you, that we don't even pay much attention to anymore. But ultimately it's great to, kind of be a part of that type of a run.
Yes. Well, when you've been around for a while, you know what works and you've got that word of mouth business. Obviously, SEO is important for many companies, but I think word of mouth is still something that works extremely well, and that's based on your results. So tell me, Markus, what kind of clients is it that you're getting these great results for?
Well, it's really bizarre. People are like, what's your niche when it comes to clients? And to be honest, there really isn't one. I mean, we don't go super huge. Typically, it's, medium to small businesses. But some of the things that people want are, the low-hanging fruit. We do a lot of, basic brochure sites. And if that's what they need, that's what they need. And other times they need, complex API integration development, from the ground up. We do that as well. So, to be honest, we don't go after a particular market. We've done so many different types of markets. I mean, you name it, lawyer, construction, all types. So it gets to the point where, it's more what we're offering and how we, integrate with the client than it is the type of client.
Mm-hmm.
But, normally when we have our interview, just like you're interviewing me right now with the client, we try to figure out whether we're a good fit for them in the first place. Our idea isn't just to get a sale. It's to see, hey, are we going to be compatible? And, we want a long-term relationship with most of our clients. So that's kind of the approach we take in that respect.
Yeah, it's very important to have a good working relationship with the people you choose to work with. There's nothing worse than having bad clients that have
Right.
expectations that, are just out of this planet. But tell me what these businesses are looking for as far as a web presence.
Yeah. Well, I mean, generally a lot of them are just fed up with the last guy. And don't get me wrong. I mean, we lose clients just like everyone. Everyone wants to kind of go, I want to try and see if the grass is greener over here. But, one thing I did start to notice were people were coming to us and going, oh, well, our last guy and this happened and they didn't get back to us, or they didn't support us correctly, or we never heard from them again, or, some kind of issue with the funding. And it just got to the point where I'm like, wow, does this happen a lot? And when I started this, I wanted to, all the technicality is great, but in order for it to be successful, I wanted to really focus on centering on, how we communicate with the client and being, a long-term partner with that client versus, okay, here's your website, here's your solution, see you later, bye, and that's worked really well. And, I tell all my clients these days, I'm like, hey, if you can find one bad review about us on the web, we'll build it for free. And by the way, that doesn't mean you go out and make a bad review. But and it's worked like that because we don't really have to market much anymore. I mean, we do a little bit, and I wasn't in this race to really get big and have 60 guys in a big building with a fountain in the background. My idea was I really like my tight niche kind of team I put together. They've been handpicked and I've worked with them for years and I trust them. And, I like where I'm at. Sure, everyone wants money, more money and to grow and stuff like that. But, we're growing, but at the rate I want to. So
great. Yeah, comfortable. Sometimes having so many staff, like you mentioned, is more of a headache than it's worth. But absolutely. So talk to me about, you mentioned the interview that you have with your clients. What kind of information are you trying to get out of them there?
Well, I mean, we go through a phase process, which a lot of companies have, but, ours is a little different. They're all a little different from each other, but we have a basic, obviously you want to figure out what their goals are, what they're going after, who their competition is, how they're, wanting to portray themselves. And, we whittle that down to a phase one kind of scenario where we're like, okay, are these are things you could consider, on a marketing level. And these are our recommendations on, for example, a branding level or, a mobile device level. And, depending on whether the client knows exactly what they want or whether they're wanting us to hold their hand all the way through it, we kind of figure that part of it out. So phase one is typically just putting together like an IAD or information architecture document that outlines, all the ifs, ands, and buts, what they're wanting. Is this just going to be a basic scenario that they need a site, they need basic hosting, they need their email, set up, they need all that junk kind of in place and we just do it for them? Or, do they need something more complex or like a custom shipping solution or a internal social network or, some type of e-commerce integration that has to work with another platform? So we don't let people down. We have our minimum that we do, and then we have our high end. But we try really hard, to get to not to make our pitch into something like, oh, this is wonderful. We're more about, hey, if you can find a better price and you're really shopping just price and you don't have a good feel about the direction we're going in, and we'd rather not work with it,
Yeah, definitely. So talk to me about the past and the future of web design, because there's a lot of businesses out there that have been established now. They had their website designed maybe 10, 15 years ago and haven't really updated. Things have changed a lot over the years, haven't they?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they change monthly. In fact, ours is just about to be upgraded because we just upgraded it just recently. So yeah, it's it's gotten to the point where, I mean, I was around when responsive design wasn't even a thing. The closest thing to responsive design was just making a table go from the left to the right on a percentage increment. And it might change again. And I actually hope that responsive and design changes, because now it's kind of getting a little bit, I don't know what it's going to change into, but I hope we go other places with it. I definitely think that, there are too many outputs, and sometimes people get confused and not focus on, one thing at a time. They try to see the big picture all at once. Their marketing, their social, all their little things without, focusing on each individual piece and going, okay, how am I going to manage this? What's the technology involved behind it? Is it just because it's trendy, does that mean it's good for my company, etc.? So does that make sense?
Yeah, there's certainly a lot to do. And like you said, things are changing all the time. I think the biggest change is from the desktop to the mobile phone. I think especially for a local business, there's so many local searches on a mobile phone now that they really have to have that responsive design.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, another aspect that I think is ridiculous is, a lot of people don't really know what's going on underneath the hood. Mm-hmm. And what I mean is, like, they see the site and it's nice and it's beautiful and it works on all devices. But, there are so many little things that need to be done that I believe most designers and developers don't do. Just these little things that are invisible to the naked eye, but are very important, such as making sure it's compliant, OC3 compliance, right? Does it need PCI compliance? Who knows? Maybe, maybe not. Is the code optimized? Do the images load correctly? Is it fast? Is the site on a static IP? All these little tiny things that we tweak to make sure that even though it's a simple solution, we're giving underneath the hood of the thing, it's set up. The Webmaster Tools account, the submission of content when it's coming in, when it's fresh, making sure they're on all the the lists necessary to get pinged correctly by search engine algorithms. So there's a lot that goes into matching up URLs, all that junk that is under the hood of the actual site that I think people miss. And it's hard to pitch that because they don't see that.
Right. And probably most business owners don't really want to know that either. It's too confusing. It's not something that they're interested in learning, but they do want things done properly.
Exactly. Hands down. Yep.
So what about apps? Do you think that is, something that many businesses need now? Is it the way of the future?
No and yes. I mean, like we had a client yesterday, hey, we need an app. And I'm like, you really need an app? I mean, the client has to download it. They got to install it, and unless it's something that's necessary for what they're doing, as I said before, if it's just a trend and a word to throw out there, then no. But yeah, there are scenarios where that's, necessary. I mean, the last app we published was an internal social app for a company that needed it on a specific day. And, then we realized that Apple are very anal retentive about just publishing. It has to go through a rigorous set of diagnostics before they will even let it through into the App Store at all, which we didn't even know about because we were so new to it. And, they missed the deadline because Apple said, oh, you got to fix A, B, and C before it can be published. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a place for apps. We're never going to really be an app. We're going to do them, but I don't see Blue Light as being a major app provider. Someone wants a game or something, or integrate with a bank or something crazy like that. It's kind of outside the scope that I'd want us to get into. But, it's funny though, Neil, that, now almost everything can be built on a mobile level to where they just, you can just link to it and it works relatively similar to a mobile app, now that you have Ajax and things like that can update real time.
Yeah. Talk to me, Marcus, about what people need to see when they land on the site. What are they looking for, and what features are important to have on a website?
Well, I mean, drilling it down, you got, primary call to actions. What's the course you want them to take? A lot of people look at, how a funnel should work. You're probably better at the funnel thing than, I am.
Mhm.
I'm more into, okay, we're trying to get from A to B to the form, or we're trying to get a lead with this, or we're trying to, get someone's trust out of this, situation. So, the way we put the design together, is the way we want to go. Okay, well, how do you think this client's going to react to what we're going to give them on a proposal level? And, my designer comes back at me and goes, oh, well, let's give them these 3 scenarios. And we could go drill deeper and do, things like, click testing and see how the traffic flows through it. But more so, I think, if you keep your call to actions really clean and do some beta testing on it, I think you can get a really good side out of it.
Mm. And how important is the kind of branding and the storytelling aspect of a website?
Oh, it's one of the most important. Even though now with these build your own cheap site, Wix/Squarespaces out there, everyone's like, oh, what are you going to do now? I'm like, well, I'm going to get, that's going to weed out the clients that we don't want.
Exactly. Yeah.
And, if you look at, code on these guys' sites, it's just stuffed with junk, over JavaScript messed, and, to me, I'm like, okay, if you want to get something done, you want to do it right the first time, they won't come back with their tail between their legs, but they'll be the types that, come and, choose you eventually.
Right. And, with these templated sites, there tends to be lots of problems too. And because they've tried to do it themselves and they don't have a relationship with a web designer or manager, when they have problems, it usually costs a lot to get them fixed.
Exactly. On top of that, a lot of them go, oh, by the way, you can only use the domain with us, or you can't move it anywhere. You have to use our proprietary software. A lot of little things like that. Not that I'm dissing them. I'm not even, I don't feel even negative about it, but, it gets the people that I don't want to work with out of the way.
That's it. So talk to me about some of the misconceptions that people have about getting a website designed and built.
Well, I mean, I covered, one of my primary ones is just that they don't know what's really going on under the hood and what we're providing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a big one. And, when the value proposition typically comes out to where we're like, hey, we're here with you in the long run. We want, you to succeed just as bad as we want to succeed. And that's kind of where we stand and how we continue to do that for all the clients that we have currently, and that's worked so well. And we educate them only to the degree they need to be. As you said before, you can't overload someone with information, but at the same time, I do like getting people into the state where they're like, oh, okay, well, now I can manage it. I can give them the keys to the car that I built for them and show them how to manage it. But I'm still there for them when they need support or when they need stuff done. Now, some companies don't even want to deal with it. And of course, then we just hire people to do the administration from there. But ideally, that's kind of the spot we're at.
Good. What stops people from taking action to get their website redesigned, or maybe even to get a new one built?
Well, I mean, a lot. I think up at the top when it comes to the lower hanging fruit, it's budget.
Mm-hmm.
But some people are like, oh, okay, well, is that when the January rolls around and they get their marketing budget for the year. And they're like, okay, what do we need to spend this on? Well, let's throw it into social, or what they don't understand is, even to this day, your company website is your calling card, period. Your Facebook fan page isn't, unless you're in a specific market. But, I think the website should always show every company's best side and what that should be their core element or their core calling card. And that's the big pitch is, hey, even if, you don't get a lot of business from your site, you're in a particular type of, niche market that doesn't need, an internet presence as much. I think that presence still needs to be, a priority.
Well, when people land on your site, they're making a decision at that point, aren't they?
Well, to either leave within the first 2 seconds or, read on. Yeah.
Or to find out more. So that's important that it looks good and it has the right message on it so that they will stay and find out if you are the right person to do business with.
Right. I mean, even good sites, have like 55%, bounce rates.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, whittling that down and tweaking that is an ongoing job.
So talk to me, Markus, about one of your clients that sticks out in your mind. What kind of business did they have? What kind of problems did they have? And how were you able to help solve that? And ultimately, what was their outcome?
Yeah. Well, actually, very recently, we went live with Tutor Shops, which is an interesting project because it integrates multiple schools, teachers, payroll, and, of course, the children that attend the tutoring all in one little website or, eventually could actually be a web-based service at some point. But, they came to us wanting these after-school programs to take place at multiple schools after school, and they had their own teachers, but they had, they didn't have a way to, check the kids in and out, know who was picking them up, or whether they needed an EpiPen because they were allergic to peanuts, or, how to know how many hours each teacher had spent that day to make payroll. So we built an entire solution for them that works and it works great. And since even over the last 6 months, they've tripled in size. So that's been a success story. And I love those. And, now me and the owner, we're not only, just client and partner relationship, we're more, we're friends, and we keep coming up with, hey, how can we take this solution and, sell it, and that happens a lot, where people are like, oh, we got something good here. And then we move forward, and sell it to a competitor. You know what I mean? So,
right.
Yeah. I mean, our biggest client, and this is kind of funny, the one that makes the most money out of a lot of them, you would never think. They sell hair pieces. I guess it's just a niche market. They sell thousands of hair pieces a week on this insane level, and we're like, what? But just strange business dynamics like that.
Yeah, I know. I tell people all the time it's about micro specializing. Find that one area of the market that you can serve, and as long as there's the numbers there to satisfy them, you become the go-to guy, and you've got yourself a great little business.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Markus, give me a lesson that you learned early on in your 17 years of business doing this that still impacts how you do business today.
Yeah. Well, I went through kind of a rough patch, when I first started out a couple of times. I mean, it was just growing pains. I didn't know much about business. I still am not the best business guy in the world. We started out, our first marketing campaign was letting a bunch of 200 balloons go with business cards attached to them. And then we got, the police on us for, I guess, littering because the balloons started falling all over the place when they came down. But, from the garage to having a team of, 6 guys in Atlanta, then a bad partnership, and then, rebuilding that. It's been kind of, it's rough, but it's been, I like where it's ended up. I mean, everything's kind of worked its way out. And, I've personally found that I've kind of, silenced all the things that I really don't have to have my head in anymore, or the people that work with me. we're really just kind of wanting to simplify what we do and just get really good at it. And, offer it to our clients and just, wake up every morning without stress and sweating because something doesn't work right because we didn't know what we were doing. But,
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely an important lesson is to, put all your focus on one thing and doing it well.
Right.
There's so many businesses out there that try and do a little bit of everything, and you can't be a master of everything, but you can be a master of one thing.
Yeah. And
so tell me about some of the questions that people should be asking if they're looking for a web design service.
Well, I think the main, what are they really in it for? I mean, are they looking for, a long-term partner to just be there for them? Are they just looking for a designer to, throw up a quick WordPress site for them? Or, do they think down the line they're going to need to, insight on how to market things? I mean, we don't consider ourselves a marketing company, but we do a lot of it. And most of it's on like kind of a consulting level, where we're like, okay, well, what do you think well, we have, hole A, we have hole B, and we have hole C. You throw a penny into each hole, and whichever hole spits out more pennies, that's the one we target. So, rather than, here's SEO package 1, 2, and 3, and it's this amount of money for, 1, this amount of money for 2, and this amount of money for 3. But, if they're really proud of their company and the way they're heading, as I said before, regarding, your site is your calling card. It's where, you go to find out whether, this is the kind of business I want to work with or not. I think it's an important thing to keep in mind, and choosing the right company is important. And our little secret to the sauce is, hey, we've been doing this for a while. We've built hundreds of sites, and we've been successful at it. And, we offer you, that type of quality in what we do.
Very good. So, Marcus, if people want to reach out to you and get in touch, what is the best way for them to do that?
Just go to our site. You can always call us directly anytime. We're 24/7 support. Typically, if we're not here, we get back to you within the 30-minute interval, even in the late night. But bluelightlabs.com, like the color, what comes from the sun, and labs as in laboratories.
Excellent. Well, Markus Nelson, he's the owner of Blue Light Labs. Thank you very much for giving us your knowledge today. Very important, like you said, to have that calling card of a website. That's what the first impression that people see when they're deciding whether to do business with you. So it's important that you are showing up well. And thanks for all your advice today and for being my guest on Expert Profiles Atlanta.
Thanks for having me on the show, Neil. I really appreciate it.
And to our listening audience, if you like what you hear, hit that like button and share, and we'll see you next time on the show.
Thank you for listening to Expert Profiles Atlanta with Neil Howe. To learn more about the resources in the show or to listen to past episodes, visit expertprofilesatlanta.com.